On this week's episode, Tori and Dayton are hunting some delta ground at Howling and Coyotes with the MFK diaphragms.
Alright, here's the deal. Caraway's behind the camera as usual. Come here, Dayton. Got our buddy Dayton Farr with us this morning. We're leaving the pine thickets behind to come over and hunt with him in some of his delta ground. So, Dayton's gonna be showing us around his place this morning. He's got a lot of coyotes and some cats. So we're gonna see if we can get something called up. How many acres we hunting?
Altogether about 8,000.
So we ought to have plenty of ground to cover. We got the way this stuff lays out is pretty much open farm ground. And what you got? What's your wood blocks layout?
You ain't gonna have nothing more than 150 acres of timber.
That's what we're gonna try to do. We're gonna try to hit these little small blocks of timber that's scattered out in this farm ground. Most people would set up and try to call this open stuff and call the coyotes out of the wood blocks. We're gonna get in the wood blocks with them and put the wind out in these fields and see if we can put them right there in our lap and get some stuff killed this morning. It's about enough camera light to film our first set, so we're gonna ease on in here and get it done, hopefully. So this lays out all this stuff right here is low ground, and then this ridge is gonna run this ditch off the backside of this field.
There's gonna be a burn all the way around it and high spots all out scattered all down in it.
And that edge right there is a fence road.
There's a fence road that they get on the other side. See,
Is that gonna be higher ground?
that fence road's gonna be high ground.
So it's gonna this terrace and that fence road tie together.
Perpendicular
right
to each other, yes.
there. That ought to be right there where they tie in. Ought to be.
Yeah. Travel zone for sure.
Ought to be the good spot. All right. Tell you what we're talking about. Dayton's filling me in on kind of how the land lays out right here. How big is this wood block?
60 acres.
So we got a 60-acre wood block surrounded by open fields. We've had a lot of rain here lately, and a lot of this low ground has got water on it. Carry away and pan around in a minute, and you'll be able to see all the water. These woods have got a lot of water in them too. Dayton was telling me it's some high, kind of like terrace roads or little ridges out here in a fence road. They're perpendicular to each other and make a T. We've got one edge right here running north and south with the wind out the west. So that's gonna put our wind out into this open ground behind us. So after talking about it, what we're gonna do is get to where this north and south ridge ties into a fence road that's running east and west. Right there where those tie together that's the most high ground out here. So we're gonna try to set up right there and use that higher ground to funnel these coyotes into us and have this west wind blowing out in the open ground. Should be a damn good setup with the wind like it is. We're gonna ease on in here and try to get set up. Caraway can probably pan around and give you a little better idea. You'll see this high ground with the water. It's real narrow, not much wider than a road, so they ought to be right in our lap. worked out pretty good. I don't know what kind of footage we got, but this setup may look kind of awkward. We're gonna explain it here in just a second. Let's go get that thing dating, then we'll drag it up here, take a look, and then we'll tell everybody what's going on. And Dayton called this one right. He told us right where the coyotes were gonna be, or where he thought they'd be, and that's why we're set up like we are. And I'll explain this setup to you in just a second, and you'll see why it worked like it did. Pretty much perfect. Let's go grab that thing. This is the female. It was a pair of them. I'm sure the coyote in the back was probably the male. Female whimpers and howls. That tells me it's getting time, because that's all we done on this set was the whimpers. Worked perfect. To explain to y'all how this worked, or I'm gonna get Dayton to kind of give you the layout on this stuff. This is his property. We come over here to hunt with him this morning, first time we've been here. He's been telling me for a while. Yeah, squat down here so you can give us a layout. Dayton's been telling us for a couple years now that he's got a bunch of coyotes, and this is our second setup of the morning, and we pulled in two. We ran distress. We thought there might be a bobcat at the first spot we stopped at, so we didn't do any howling or use any coyote vocals, and just run distress. Didn't call up anything on that set. So we come to this second spot and swapped over. I was actually using the new howler. It's the black one, and it's perfect for doing the female whimpers, which is really good this time of the year, and that's what these coyotes come to. But give us a layout of how your ground's set up right here. It's obviously some fields behind us, and just how's this layout?
You're looking at a 40-acre block of hardwoods on the north side. On the south side of it, it's a 40-acre reservoir. It's real thick around it, and fields all around it. And they'll get in the hardwood, but mainly up in the day right now. Of course, they're close to a den. They're going to be in this thick stuff around this reservoir. And the way these ditches lay out, it's a major travel zone, and it seemed to work out pretty good.
Yeah, as far as the way we had it set up for the wind and stuff like that, on this reservoir that Dayton just talked about, you can probably see this ditch of water behind us. It's a deep ditch, and then there's a ridge, and it drops off on the other side, and that's where Dayton figured the coyotes would be in the thicker stuff. This is open hardwood timber behind us. We've got a west wind which is blowing back out into the corner of this field. And you see this terrace right here. Looks like we had limited visibility, and we did. It was shotgun only right here. But we can't cross this reservoir, and the coyotes are either going to have to stay on top, so they're going to have to come down this edge, one side of the water or the other. We've got the wind blowing right back out in the corner of this field. In order for the cows to smell us, they were going to have to come down that edge, and that's what they done. They come right down the edge of this water. There's a trail where they cross this ditch right here. Pretty good trail, deer trail, but the coyotes and everything else use it. And so that's why we're set up like we were. We're watching this corner both ways with a west wind blowing out into the field. The coyote had to expose himself to come to the call, and that's what happened. By the time we saw the coyotes, they were in shotgun range. It was two coyotes. Don't know how good it's on film, but it was. They followed the script, and it messed them up. As always, to get any of our calls, if you want to check out this new howler,
Go to mfkgamecalls.com. Check out our videos and subscribe to our YouTube channel, MFK Game Calls. And when you do that, leave us a comment. Let us know what you think about the videos. Ask us questions. We'll try to cover that on future videos. And appreciate y'all watching. We're going to drag this thing out. It's still early. We're going to make a couple other sets. It's just our second stand of the morning. It's fun. Yeah. Did you see them before? One more thing I'll mention about this setup that I didn't tell y'all a while ago. We mentioned that we had a open hardwood block behind us, and you'll notice as we're dragging this thing out, it's water everywhere, and we're using that to our advantage. That terrace row that we were setting beside, that little bit of high ground, there's not very much of it out here. So most of the time this is dry, but we've had what, 3-4 inches of rain in the last
4 days.
3 or 4 days. It's got this whole bottom you know, ankle deep or deeper in places, and just these little high patches on the edges of these fields and where some of these fence rows tie in is the only high ground. So we're using that to our advantage. We get the wind right, and those coyotes are, you know, they're going to tend to hold to that little bit drier ground. For one, they can slip easier and keep from getting their feet wet. It's 20 something degrees this morning. A lot of things are froze up, and anytime you got something like that, whatever it is, water, thicket edges, high ground, low ground, timber edges of any kind, try to use that to your advantage, and think about how how you could use that to funnel a coyote into your lap. And that's a good way to hunt coyote in timbers or open ground, a deer, anything else. You can use those edges and water or anything to put yourself in a better position to kill them things at real close range. And that's what we're doing. Just keep the wind in mind and line that stuff up to where some of it comes together like we did on this set, and you'll put more fur in the pile, I guarantee it.
I ain't keen on walking through water barefooted either.
No, don't look at it. They'll avoid it just like we will.